Hidden beneath the rugged mesas of southwestern Colorado lies one of archaeology's most perplexing mysteries. For over a century, scientists have been baffled by an intricate network of stone structures that seem to defy explanation. These weren't the famous cliff dwellings that Mesa Verde is known for, but something far more sophisticated. A complex system of water management that allowed an entire civilization to flourish in one of America's most challenging desert environments. What if I told you that this 1,000-year-old desert technology is starting to reshape how we think about land restoration in America's most eroded landscapes? And that scientists believe it could hold the key to transforming millions of acres of forgotten desert into fertile oasis. Today, as the American Southwest faces its worst drought in over 1,200 years, with the Colorado River dropping to historic lows and entire agricultural regions being abandoned, there's a growing realization that our ancestors may have already solved the very problems we're struggling with today. While modern engineers spend billions on complex irrigation systems that often fail, these ancient techniques continue to work exactly as they were designed over a millennium ago. But what makes this technology truly mind-blowing isn't just its age or effectiveness. It's the fact that it was developed by people who had no written language, no metal tools, and no wheels, yet managed to create water management systems so sophisticated that modern hydrologists are still trying to fully understand how they work. Stay until the end, because today you're going to discover how this mind-blowing ancient technology is being rediscovered by modern scientists who believe it could hold the key to solving America's land degradation crisis and transforming the nation's most challenging desert landscapes into thriving, sustainable ecosystems. Welcome to Forgotten Lands. The mystery began in 1888 when Swedish archaeologist Gustaf Nordenskjöld first documented strange stone structures scattered across the Mesa Verde landscape. Unlike the dramatic cliff dwellings that captured public imagination, these were modest arrangements of carefully stacked rocks that seemed to serve no obvious purpose. For decades, archaeologists dismissed them as simple hunting blinds or ceremonial sites. It wasn't until the 1960s that researchers began to understand what they were looking at. These weren't random stone piles. They were the remnants of the most sophisticated water management system ever developed in the American Southwest. The ancestral Puebloans, who lived in this region from approximately 750 to 1285 AD, had created a technology so advanced that it allowed them to transform one of the continent's most challenging environments into a thriving agricultural paradise. The scale of their achievement is staggering. Across the Mesa Verde region, archaeologists have documented over 5,000 sites containing evidence of this ancient technology. But the true genius of the system only became apparent when researchers began to understand how all these individual components worked together as a unified whole. What the ancestral Puebloans had developed was a network of what modern engineers call check dams, low, porous barriers made of carefully stacked stones that were strategically placed across natural drainage channels. But calling them simple check dams doesn't do justice to the sophistication of the system. Each dam was precisely engineered to slow down rushing water during the intense summer monsoon storms that characterize the Southwest. Instead of allowing precious rainwater to rush off the landscape, carrying away topsoil and carving destructive gullies, these structures force the water to slow down, drop its sediment load, and gradually infiltrate into the ground. The genius was in the details. The stones were never mortared or cemented together. They were designed to fail gracefully during extreme flood events, preventing the buildup of dangerous water pressure while still maintaining their primary function. The spacing between stones was calculated to allow just the right amount of water to pass through while capturing the maximum amount of sediment. Behind each check dam, fertile soil began to accumulate. As moisture levels increased, native grasses and other plants naturally established themselves, their roots further stabilizing the captured sediment and creating a positive feedback loop that encouraged even more soil and water retention. If you're amazed by this ancient engineering so far, comment desert below and let me know what you think the most impressive aspect of this technology is. But the check dams were only part of the story. The ancestral Puebloans also constructed a series of sophisticated reservoirs that worked in conjunction with the check dam network to create a comprehensive water management system. The most famous of these is Farview Reservoir, originally known to archaeologists as Mummy Lake. For decades, researchers debated whether this circular stone structure had ever actually held water. The breakthrough came in 1995 when hydrologist Kenneth Wright led a team that conducted detailed soil analysis within the reservoir walls. What they discovered was revolutionary. Soil boring tests revealed the presence of maize pollen throughout the reservoir sediments, pollen that could only have been transported by flowing water. This was proof that Fairview Reservoir had indeed functioned as intended, collecting and storing water that was then used for agricultural purposes. The reservoir system was even more sophisticated than initially understood. Fairview Reservoir, built around 950 AD, had a capacity of approximately 90,000 gallons. But it wasn't alone. The ancestral Puebloans had constructed at least 4 major reservoirs across the Mesa Verde region, each designed to capture water from specific drainage areas and store it for use during dry periods. Sagebrush Reservoir, constructed in multiple phases between 950 and 1100 AD, demonstrates the evolutionary nature of this technology. Archaeological evidence shows that it began as a modest pond capable of storing about 12,000 gallons. Over the next century and a half, it was systematically expanded until it could hold over 40,000 gallons, a testament to the continuous refinement and improvement of these ancient engineering techniques. The impact of this technology on the landscape was nothing short of miraculous. In a region that receives less than 18 inches of rainfall per year, the ancestral Puebloans were able to support a population of approximately 45,000 people at the height of their civilization. Archaeological evidence shows that the check dam networks were initially developed around 890 AD as a response to a period of particularly poor environmental conditions. Tree ring data indicates that the late 800s and early 900s were characterized by significantly reduced precipitation and lower potential maize production. Rather than abandon the region, the ancestral Puebloans developed this innovative technology to manipulate their local ecological niche. The results were extraordinary. Areas that had been barren desert were transformed into productive agricultural fields. The check dams not only prevented erosion but actually reversed it, building up fertile soil deposits that could support intensive agriculture. Modern soil analysis of these ancient agricultural areas shows remarkably high levels of organic matter and nutrients, evidence of the system's effectiveness in creating and maintaining soil fertility. If this story is inspiring you to think differently about what's possible in desert landscapes, hit that like button and subscribe to Forgotten Lands for more stories of ancient wisdom solving modern problems. One of the most intriguing aspects of this ancient technology is why it was eventually abandoned. Around 1285 AD, the ancestral Puebloans left the Mesa Verde region, and their sophisticated water management systems fell into disuse. Climate data suggests that the abandonment coincided with a period of severe drought known as the Great Drought of 1276 to 1299 AD. However, this raises a puzzling question. If their water management technology was so effective, why couldn't it sustain them through this dry period? Recent research suggests that the answer may lie in the scale of the environmental challenge they faced. Tree ring data indicates that the Great Drought was not just a temporary dry spell, but part of a longer-term shift toward more arid conditions. Even the most sophisticated water management system has its limits, and the ancestral Puebloans may have reached the point where their technology could no longer support their population levels. Alternatively, some researchers propose that the abandonment may have been driven by social and political factors rather than purely environmental ones. The success of their agricultural system may have led to population growth that eventually outstripped the carrying capacity of the land, leading to social tensions and eventual migration to other regions. For centuries after the abandonment of Mesa Verde, the secrets of ancestral Puebloan water management lay hidden beneath desert vegetation and accumulated sediment. It wasn't until the late 20th century that modern scientists began to truly understand and appreciate the sophistication of these ancient techniques. The breakthrough came through the work of researchers like Mary Nichols, a hydraulic engineer with the USDA Agricultural Research Service's Southwest Watershed Research Center in Tucson, Arizona. Starting in 2008, Nichols began an ambitious project to test whether ancient check dam techniques could be applied to modern land restoration challenges. Working with students from the University of Arizona, Nichols constructed 37 check dams across 2 small watersheds at the base of the Santa Rita Mountains. The project was designed to document, through careful photographic records, exactly how these ancient techniques performed under modern conditions. The results were nothing short of remarkable. In channels that had been eroded to depths of over 3 feet by flash flooding, the check dams began to work their magic almost immediately. Within just 3 to 4 years, many of the most severely eroded gullies had been completely filled with sediment, transforming barren erosion channels into fertile, vegetated areas. In relatively small channels that are not on too steep a slope, we saw gullies that had been getting worse every year almost completely disappear as sediment built up behind a check dam, Nichols explained. The annual photo series documenting these 37 locations provides compelling visual evidence of the technology's effectiveness. What makes these ancient check dams so effective is their elegant simplicity combined with sophisticated understanding of hydrological processes. Modern analysis has revealed that the ancestral Puebloans possessed advanced knowledge of water transport and storage that was far more sophisticated than previously assumed. The key to the system's success lies in its ability to work with natural processes rather than against them. During intense monsoon storms, rushing water carries enormous amounts of sediment. Traditional engineering approaches often try to channel this water away as quickly as possible, but the check dam system does the opposite. It forces the water to slow down and drop its sediment load. This creates a positive feedback loop. As sediment accumulates behind the dams, it provides a growing medium for native vegetation. The plant's roots help stabilize the accumulated soil, while their above-ground growth slows water flow even further, encouraging additional sediment deposition. The rediscovery of these ancient techniques comes at a critical time for the American Southwest. Climate change is intensifying drought cycles and making monsoon rain events more severe, creating conditions that accelerate land degradation. Traditional engineering solutions are often expensive, energy-intensive, and require ongoing maintenance that many communities cannot afford. Check dam technology offers a compelling alternative. The materials are locally available and inexpensive, essentially just rocks that can be gathered from the surrounding landscape. The construction requires no heavy machinery or specialized skills, making it accessible to rural communities and individual landowners. The potential for scaling this technology is enormous. Across the American Southwest, millions of acres of land have been degraded by erosion, overgrazing, and poor land management practices. Much of this land is currently considered worthless, too damaged to support agriculture or even basic vegetation. But the Mesa Verde example demonstrates that even the most severely degraded landscapes can be restored using these ancient techniques. The success of ancient check dam technology raises profound questions about our approach to land management and environmental restoration. For decades, the dominant paradigm has been to rely on high-tech, energy-intensive solutions that require significant ongoing investment and maintenance. The Mesa Verde example suggests that sometimes the most effective solutions are also the simplest. Check dam technology can be implemented using local materials and traditional construction techniques. It requires no external energy inputs and minimal ongoing maintenance. Most importantly, it works with natural processes rather than trying to override them, making it inherently more sustainable and resilient than many modern alternatives. Despite these challenges, the rediscovery of ancestral Puebloan water management technology represents a significant opportunity for addressing some of the most pressing environmental challenges of our time. As we face an uncertain climate future, the wisdom of ancient peoples who successfully adapted to challenging environmental conditions becomes increasingly relevant. The Mesa Verde example demonstrates that sustainable solutions to environmental problems often already exist. We just need to be humble enough to learn from the past. The ancestral Puebloans developed their sophisticated water management systems through centuries of careful observation, experimentation, and refinement. Modern science and technology can enhance these ancient techniques without fundamentally changing their basic principles. GPS mapping can help identify optimal locations for check dam placement. Soil analysis can guide decisions about appropriate plant species for revegetation. But the core insight remains the same. Working with natural processes rather than against them is often the most effective approach to environmental management. As we stand at the edge of what many scientists consider a climate crisis, the ancient technology of Mesa Verde offers both hope and practical solutions. The transformation of forgotten desert into fertile oasis is not just a historical curiosity. It's a proven technique that could help restore millions of acres of degraded land across the American Southwest and beyond. The ancestral Pueblones faced environmental challenges that were in many ways similar to those we face today. They responded not with despair or denial, but with innovation and adaptation. Their success demonstrates that even the most challenging environmental problems can be solved with careful observation, creative thinking, and respect for natural processes. The technology that once supported 45,000 people in the challenging environment of Mesa Verde could potentially restore millions of acres of degraded land and support sustainable communities across the American Southwest. The question is not whether the technology works. The evidence for that is overwhelming. The question is whether we have the wisdom to learn from the past and the courage to implement solutions that require patience, persistence, and respect for natural processes. In a world increasingly dominated by high-tech solutions and quick fixes, the ancient check dams of Mesa Verde offer a different path forward, one that is simple, sustainable, and proven effective over centuries of use. As we face an uncertain environmental future, this ancient wisdom may be exactly what we need to transform our own forgotten deserts into fertile oases for generations to come.